Welcome to Homeschool Companion, your source for information, motivation, and inspiration. If you're part of the homeschool community or simply interested in learning more about home-based education, stay tuned. Together we'll examine the latest resources, learning styles, and teaching techniques. We'll speak with experts in the field to help you uncover every homeschool advantage. We'll also present suggestions on how to keep Christ in the curriculum as we explore fresh ways to teach and learn. Here's your Homeschool Companion host, author, educator, and children's ministry specialist, Dr. Rose Gamblin.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We're reading from Windows on God's World by Dr. James Tucker, and we're right in the process of getting him to come and interview with us. We're so excited about that. The title of today's devotion is called The Life List. Rejoice because your names are written in heaven, Luke 10:20. I mean, that in itself is so phenomenal that at some point we'll be out of all this suffering and growing old and losing our loved ones and pets, and our names are written in heaven. Look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. So the story is about birds. How many variety of birds do you think you could find in a day or year or lifetime? There are about 800 kinds of birds in North America. It is a real challenge to see how many of them you can find. Only one man has found more than 700 in his lifetime. Not many have seen more than 600. But how about during 1 year? There are only 5 persons who have found more than 600 species of birds in 1 year in North America. The most species found by one person in one day is 214. This record was set by a young Texan in 1973. To do it, he traveled more than 500 miles during the day. Such records are very difficult to match. But you don't have to set records to enjoy keeping a bird list. It is just as much fun to find a new bird in your yard as it is for the World Bird Lister to see a new one in Borneo. I have a friend who put $1 in the offering plate for each kind of bird that he or his son found in their yard during 1 year. This was their way of thanking God for the variety of birds that made their yard an interesting place. The most important thing to remember if you keep a bird list is that it should mean something special to you. You should list only birds that you know well enough to identify. It is very rewarding to walk through the woods or beside a lake and see a familiar bird. You feel that you've met a friend, and it is a real thrill to find a new bird and learn its name all by yourself. That is like making a new friend. Jesus is keeping a list of friends also, not bird friends, but people. In heaven, he's listing all those who love and obey him. That list is going to mean a great deal indeed when he comes back to this earth. Please make sure your name is on that list. I love that. I could see doing that as an ongoing thing with my family, and I have done it. I do have a bird list going, and I love it when the woodpecker shows up because I live in a neighborhood, so we don't get that many woodpeckers. Anyway, let's have prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for being our God and for caring for us. We hold up to you this show this day, that your mind will connect to our minds and that your Holy Spirit will go before us and our words will be your words. May we bless those that are listening. All this I pray in thy holy name. Amen. Ta-da! Arts and crafts. So there's some ideas in my Pinterest site about making your own bird book. And you don't actually even need to go there to think of how you might want to make a bird book. Have your kids take some paper, and I like the smaller one because it fits with about the size of the bird book that I use to identify birds with. And so I fold an 8x10 paper in half. You can fold a couple of those sheets in half. And if you want to saddle stitch it, you just take and open it up and staple it into like carpet or cardboard, and then take that out carefully and push the staples in, and it looks like a real book. So you can have your bird books on ongoing, looking for books. And then I have already the characteristics of birds in my forest classroom if you want to go there for a free template where they identify the parts of the bird. It's important to look carefully at birds and the characteristics of birds in order to identify them correctly. So that is a great skill. And then I have drawing birds throughout my Pinterest site. MR Gamblin, choose the call letters. So make sure you have fun learning. Curriculum Corner. So I thought I would try to help open your mind to the idea of homeschool conventions. They actually give you a lot of courage. And I know that South Carolina has one, Missouri, Ohio, California, Texas, Maryland, Pennsylvania. I think every state has homeschool conventions. Some are faith-based, some are just pretty neutral. And the purpose of having a homeschool convention is it really helps you not feel so isolated. When you go there, your mind is just boggled by all the other people that are there homeschooling their children, trying their best. And that's still just a fraction, because I know when I go to these homeschool conventions, I'm amazed at how many people are there. And yet when I talk to people, most people never go to homeschool conventions. So I could encourage you in this little segment that we call Curriculum Corner to go to homeschool conventions. Now, the way I'm going to close the Curriculum Corner from now on is less is more. Doesn't mean that less attention to something is more. It just means that often when you teach a child well a small amount of material, they will remember it better than if you try to squash in their brain a whole bunch of stuff. And there is a whole bunch of stuff. If you buy the textbooks, just still look at them that they are a resource. You pick and choose out of that what you want your child to learn. So less is more. Our question today is a pretty somber one. This young lady is wondering about her cousin. Her cousin is homeschooling her 9-year-old daughter, but she doesn't see them doing anything. The girl at 9 years cannot read or write. And she's wondering if her parents want someone to call CPS. Well, first of all, you know my strong feelings about that. Do not call CPS. Child Protective Services is incentivized, and so it pays. They are paid multiple thousands of dollars for every child that they can take in, and that's how they fund their organization. So you really needs to be life-threatening before anybody would call CPS. Also, if they are unschooling, then that is a lot like what unschooling looks like. Many children don't read until they're older. It's okay. That part of the brain may not have developed, or the interest might not be there. But it's amazing how much, even if they're just on the computer or on a tablet, how much reading they pick up. They want to know what the instructions are telling them. So you need to relax, and you need to, what is that saying, work within your own four walls and make sure everything's there, or work in your own garden and make sure all the weeds are pulled there. All of us have to do that all the time. That's going to be one of my New Year's resolutions is, plow in my own garden. Make sure that the things that God has given me to do, I do well, and not be so worried about other people. Yes, it would be wonderful if there was some structure, and there might be, even in an unschooling situation. I think I need to talk about that more, and I will tomorrow. There's probably more things happening than one recognizes just because they don't have a curriculum that they're following. The parents are giving them opportunities. Older siblings teach younger siblings so many things that we might not recognize as a traditional school. So we'll talk more about unschooling tomorrow. In the meantime, let's go to another question. Okay, here's a good question from Olga. She's looking for suggestions for a busy or mindful time-out activity for her 6-year-old. She doesn't want to call it a time-out activity, But when his energy gets away from him, he does best to do an activity to occupy his mind and fingers. Well, I can tell you what I use. I have a real fuzzy bathroom carpet. I bought it new for just this purpose. And we call it the reset area. And I put it by a magnetic, like it could be by the refrigerator, something that's magnetic, where you have magnetic toys. And I encourage the students that have a hard time with sitting still for too long, or they get excited. I get them excited about what they're learning, but then they just want to crawl out of their skins. And so I give them this reset opportunity that they can reset themselves. And that works wonderfully. They just go and reset themselves. You could have a little box of fidget toys there, or you could have the Legos or blocks or something, and call it the reset area. So it's not negative. We're just resetting ourselves. We're soothing ourselves, calming ourselves down. And sometimes, the student will say, I need to go reset. And then they just go reset. They're not isolated from the group, or it's not punitive in any way, but they reset. That's my advice. You can take it for whatever it's worth. Now, in this second half, we're going to talk to Stephen Enada. He's from Nigeria, and he's from the organization called ICON, which stands for International Committee on Nigeria. Nigeria, of course, is very close to my heart, so that's one of the reasons why I'm interviewing him, and I hope you appreciate some of the ministry that he's trying to do there. We'll be right back. Thank you for listening to Life Talk Radio Network. Let's pause a minute and talk about the coronavirus pandemic. It is so easy to get caught up in all the fast-moving circumstances. Everything is changing. In my lifetime, I have never experienced anything of this magnitude. Yet we read in Philippians 4:6, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.
You have been listening to Homeschool Companion, a production of MRG Media. Be sure to join us on Facebook. Just type in the name Homeschool Companion. For more on this or to contact us, go to mrgmediaministries.com. The views, beliefs, and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guest and callers, and are not necessarily those of MRG Media Ministries, this network, its management, or other stations and sponsors that choose to air this program.
Welcome, welcome. I'm here with Stephen Enada, and we are going to talk about one of my favorite countries, Nigeria. Welcome. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you came to represent the International Committee on Nigeria on our radio station, interviewing here in Texas at the National Religious Broadcasters Association.
Thank you, Mom. Like you rightly said, I'm Stephen Enada. I'm from Nigeria, in particular Benue State, Idoma by tribe, and I schooled in Jos, and also school also in Oyo State, which is in Yoruba land. So I've actually had, growing up, I've had interactions with almost every tribe in Nigeria. So we have this community lifestyle where everybody is accepted. But growing up, in the last 20 years, Nigeria has really turned the wrong direction, where ethnicity, religious bigotry continue to create certain fault lines along religion, tribe, and ethnic groups. And from there, Nigeria started experiencing several forms of terrorism. And this terrorism is caused by Boko Haram and also Fulani militants. And now we have ISIS West Africa, who have joined Boko Haram fighting many proxy wars to make sure they Islamized Nigeria.
So the whole point is to Islamize, that's the word you're coining there, Islamize Nigeria. Nigeria has been a country of juju, paganism. Christianity came in there and flourished, and it also was a British colony. So it had a British influence. That was the national language. And I wondered if, Stephen, you could tell us how many tribes there are in the country of Nigeria. I know very well, from having lived there myself, of Yoruba, Igbo, Fulani, and Hausa. 4 big tribes, but there are others, such as what you are from.
Yeah, actually, Fulani is even the least of those tribes you mentioned.
Yes.
But we have, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba as the 3 major languages. But we have over 500 languages in Nigeria.
And that's amazing. If it wasn't for the fact that all of you also know how to speak English, that has been unifying to some extent. But what do you suppose? Nigeria is a very wealthy country. It's one of the largest oil-producing countries in the world, and yet it is susceptible to this radical Islam. What contributes to that?
Well, the truth of the matter is because there is no true sense of patriotism, and that has given birth to ethnic consciousness, where everybody is thinking about his tribe or her tribe. And that has led to high-level corruption that has affected almost every organ of government. And in that regard, there is no true sense of trying to contribute to national cohesion, because the more there is apathy, infighting, then the more prosperous the corrupt politicians become. Most Nigerians are actually peace-loving people, but politicians have used religion to divide such a great country. Yes, you talk about Nigeria being rich in mineral resources, but also very poor because that has not been managed well.
Yes.
And even since the Biafra War that you referred to in the 70s, there have not been any post-war stabilization that will bring about economic prosperity. That said, it's as a result of this mismanagement that the country Nigeria has not accomplished her goal.
Now, you are involved in this International Committee on Nigeria, and probably one of the things that has really brought you together is the fact that there are these terrorist groups, such as, Boko Haram was in the news recently with the abduction of all of those girls. And what does the International Committee on Nigeria, what do you do? How do you help?
Thank you, ma'am. International Committee on Nigeria was started some 4 years ago. I and my friend Kyle Apts, we started because Kyle lived in Nigeria for 16 years as missionary with his family, and we have devoted our time and effort to building communities by trying to see how we take people out of poverty. But recently we discovered that you can't build a prosperous nation or community when there is instability or insecurity.
Yes.
So now we discover again that a lot of people, especially Christians, are targeted by these insurgents, and that have led to, for example, over 3 million Nigerians have been displaced. Over 100,000 people have been killed. Even Reuters today is saying that over 350,000 Nigerians have been lost as a result of this terrorism. So that said, we started off, and these young school children from Chibok girls to Dapchi, and one who has become a prisoner of conscience, which is Leah Sharibu, was abducted with other Muslim girls. Other girls were released, but she wasn't released because she refused to denounce her faith. She's still in captivity, held as a prisoner of conscience, and reports coming to us is like she has had 2 babies in the last 3 years of captivity. So this really it gave us some concern some few years ago, and we started International Committee on Nigeria to begin to engage Washington, D.C. policy space, how U.S. government will begin to think about Nigeria from within foreign policy perspective, and how they can stop this terrorism. Because when you talk about human rights violations, when you talk about these killings, it's incumbent on the United States, because the United States promotes religious freedom. As a result of that, United States should also try as much as possible to protect the fragile democracy in Nigeria.
Yes.
So we started that to promote religious freedom, human dignity, and also to provide support and to even be the voices of the vulnerable, those who are victims.
So that includes talking before legislative bodies and, going on the air, coming even to our radio show and just bringing awareness, because this is an indomitable task for just a small organization. You need resources, you need human resources, you need financial resources, and of course God can bring all that about. But I would like to know, I know we have to, I only have a few minutes left of today's show, but I want to talk about how God led you to this point, from your first beginnings, where as a child, how you play and do things, never knowing the gift that God has put inside of you. And it might be interesting too to see how your education has played a part in it. It's the facts are very sad, that 30,000 deaths since 2009, and hundreds of people have been forced to flee their homes, and just the militants, causing 7,000. It's mind-boggling. So as you think about how God is calling you, my dear listener, think about International Committee on Nigeria. And you can go to their website, iconhelp.org. So it's the letters ICON help.org. It stands for International Committee on Nigeria help.org. Well, we're coming to the end of this part of our show, our first part, and tomorrow we're going to listen to our second part. I'm talking with Stephen Enada from Nigeria. He is here with Kyle and
Abdallah.
And we just thank you for taking this time at the National Religious Broadcasters Association to spend some time with us. That being said, one last thing, and that is God bless. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview as I did. Remember, there's a number of ways you can get a hold of us. And the best one probably is the email address, mrgmediaministries@gmail.com. So if you have any questions or concerns, just go ahead and shoot us a little email. I have one last thing to say, and that is God bless.
You have been listening to Homeschool Companion, a production of MRG Media. Be sure to join us on Facebook. Just type in the name Homeschool Companion. For more on this or to contact us, go to mrgmediaministries.com. That's all one word, mrgmediaministries.com.